guys, welcome back. And today we're going to be talking about Mitch Marner and him possibly being traded from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, Mitch Marner has been swirling around the NHL trade rumors, especially as of late. So could he possibly get offer sheeted or even traded from Toronto? Watch till the end to find out. Now, Mitch Marner heads into this offseason with no contract with the Toronto Maple Leafs, ending his ELC, and that obviously has put him as a potential trade target and a guy that could be traded as soon as this offseason. Now, Mitch Marner is a Toronto Maple Leaf, of course, a right-winger at age 22. He's been in the league for about 3 years now and has made his mark becoming one of the stars with not just the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the NHL in general. He's an RFA this offseason and is looking to get a new contract. He's a part of an excellent RFA group that includes guys like Mikko Rantanen, Sebastian Aho, Braden Point, and much, much more. But he's pretty much the top of that class with some fantastic talent, and for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's pretty much the #1 priority to get him back with the team next season. But the Mitch Marner with Toronto Maple Leafs negotiations have been a little bit concerning so far, especially in the last few days where we've gotten some big news, but it might not be all too great. Now, when it comes to negotiations, Mitch Marner right now, their camp wants about $11.5 million, the same amount of money as Austin Matthews. Toronto wants to give him at about 9.5 if they can, maybe even $10 million. But that's still a pretty big difference for a star player, and that's a pretty big difference they're going to have to sort out this offseason, and they'll have to do that soon, since I don't think Mitch Marner is going to get $11.5 million. He's certainly not going to get that with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if cap troubles weren't already harming the Toronto Maple Leafs, they are now. When it comes to Toronto, again, they can't afford a guy like Mitch Marner if he's going to go for an Austin Matthews type contract. I just don't think that's possible. While they got a guy like Gardner and also Ron Hainsey coming up the books this offseason, it just isn't possible to fit all these guys into it. They also got Kasperi Kapanen and Andreas Johnsson as RFAs. Those are two big guys they'll want to sign as well, maybe trade or keep one of them. But when it comes to Mitch Marner especially, they just don't have the cap in the books to be able to process another contract like that. After signing that Austin Matthews extension, Mitch Marner is going to be a really hard one, but they cannot sign him to $11.5 million. We know that for sure right now. And with so many different guys to sign, Toronto right now, it kind of has their backs against the wall. Mitch Marner right now is proving that this will not be an easy offseason. Now with Toronto, I don't think they can pay him at $11.5 million, $12 million even. I just don't think that's possible now with their current cap hit. But other teams can. And this is where we get into the offer sheet possibility and the trade possibility. Now with Toronto, obviously, they would love to keep a guy like Mitch Marner, but unless they end up trading a guy like Patrick Marleau or Nikita Zaitsev, which is easier said than done, a guy like Mitch Marner could be in a different uniform next season, and that still seems unlikely. I would still say the likely option is Mitch Marner re-signing with Toronto, but that is a perfect world right there. That is the best case scenario. Though there is also the possibilities that it does go down a south road. Maybe it goes down an offer sheet. Maybe we see a trade. It could still happen, and while it is still unlikely, we do have to consider it because it might actually happen. Now, potential Mitch Marner offer sheet is pretty unlikely for two major reasons. The first one being that we haven't seen a offer sheet actually accepted since 2013. That's been the last time it's happened, and it hasn't happened since then. That's a 6-year gap where you haven't seen an offer sheet. And while Mitch Marner's situation is pretty special, it still is pretty unlikely because of that. Also, the second reason being that if a team wanted to actually offer sheet him and it did get accepted, they would mean they would have to give up 4 first-round picks, their own first-round picks, in exchange for Mitch Marner. And Mitch Marner is an excellent talent, but I don't think there's a lot of teams right now that would take that big of a risk. I mean, some of those picks might be terrible if you're bad down the line, and that's 4 picks down the picture that could be amazing down the line. So I think that's a risk that some teams maybe consider making, but maybe not in the long term. When it comes to Mitch Marner, again, an offer sheet could happen, but right now I just do not see that happening with the current climate of the offer sheets, and it just seems being pretty cowardly to actually try it. Now, don't get me wrong, an offer sheet could still happen with Mitch Marner. He's an excellent RFA talent, and some teams could use that, but I still think it's unlikely right now with how it's looking. It would be super chaotic to see that happen. It would create a lot of buzz, 100%, but when it comes to Mitch Marner, I don't see that being down the road that actually happens, and if Mitch Marner is another team, I see it being through a potential trade. And this whole Marner trade situation kind of does remind me of the William Nylander trade rumors that we had a few months back before he ended up signing on December 1st. All the rumors that were circling around him getting maybe traded to Carolina, joining a team that had a defenseman that Toronto would take back. Those were some serious rumors, and we could still see the same thing with Mitch Marner. Maybe we see Kyle Dubas, GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, maybe revisit a couple of trade options that was back then at that December point. And while it might not be likely, a trade could still happen. And a guy like Mitch Marner, if he still is asking for $11.5 million or something, and the Toronto Maple Leafs can't pay that, a trade might be the way to go. Now, we know what the Toronto Maple Leafs' weaknesses are. Obviously, defense is there, and trading a guy like Mitch Marner for a defenseman would solve that almost instantly. But it does depend on the team, and it does depend on the defenseman, because when it comes to Mitch Marner, there will be a ton of teams that would love a guy like that, but not a lot of teams that have a defenseman up to his caliber that could be trade-worthy. But there are some good targets out there, and for Toronto, there's some targets that would instantly help that defense, besides guys like Muzzin and Wylie already being on that team. Now, with guys like Jake Gardiner and Ron Hainsey also coming out the books and likely being gone after this offseason, Toronto has a need for both a top 2 defenseman and a top 4 defenseman, and if they do trade a guy like Mitch Marner, they could potentially get both. Now, when it comes to Jake Muzzin, I really do like him. He was a solid Maple Leaf when he came here, but I don't think he's that top 2 defenseman that a guy like Morgan Rielly is. And in Toronto, if they want to have that strong defense core, I think they have to have another top 2 caliber defenseman, and there are some good options out there. Maybe you go for Philadelphia with an Ivan Provorov, that could work quite well. We've already seen PK Subban surrounded trade rumors with Nashville. That could be a decent fit there. But when it comes to Toronto, again, there is need all around that defense for depth, top 4 and top 2. But trading a guy like Mitch Marner would solve that if they do go down that route. Now, dialing in on Ivan Provorov, he is an RFA also this offseason. Philadelphia have some big options and big decisions to make with him, especially. But when it comes to Ivan Provorov, he could help Toronto quite a bit, especially with that top 2 defense problem. I think a guy like Ivan Provorov, while he had a little bit of a down year this season with Philadelphia, I think he'll have a rebound season next season and will be also fantastic. I think he's more along in the top 2 defenseman than Jake Muzzin is right now. He is young, he is solid, and if you pay him the dollars there, he could be an excellent defenseman on Toronto and could work quite well. Now, it's a little bit more of a different story with PK Subban. He's been a guy that, with Nashville's failure this season in the playoffs, he's a guy that's been surrounded with trade rumors since Nashville's been eliminated. He's been a guy that's kind of accepted the fate that he might get traded this offseason, and that would be super interesting. But with Mitch Marner, he would be excellent on that forecourt in Nashville. Obviously, we've seen them maybe go after some centers that could work. Maybe they fill out that right wing spot. Mitch Marner would look excellent in a Nashville uniform, and they do want to solve some of those offensive issues, especially on the power play. Mitch Marner will be a great fit, and PK Subban going back to Toronto would be awesome to see. There's also some other options for Toronto to explore. Maybe they go after a guy like Hampus Lindholm on Anaheim, which he did have a little bit of an off-season, a little bit of a rough year with Anaheim. I still think he would be great on that defense core in Toronto. Same thing goes with some defensemen maybe on Minnesota. Maybe you go for Jonas Brodin, maybe Jared Spurgeon also. Maybe go for a big package like Matt Dumba. That could work quite well for Toronto also. And seeing Mitch Marner in a Minnesota Wild jersey would be weird. And not gonna lie, that would kind of freak me out. But while Toronto obviously has some defensive woes, it's obvious that they do not want to give up a guy like Mitch Marner to get that help. And that is a good thing. With Mitch Marner, it would be great to see him return with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And obviously with a trade, it is unlikely. This is assuming that it gets to the point where Mitch Marner is asking for too much and the Toronto Maple Leafs can just not pay him at that point, which would suck. And while a trade could still happen, it is certainly not likely. Now, when it comes to my official prediction on what's going to go down with this Mitch Marner situation, I think he will ultimately sign. I don't think we're going to get to the point where he does end up getting traded, although that would be chaotic and crazy to see. I do think he ends up signing in Toronto. I think right now he signs for about $10.5 million, about $1 million less than Austin Matthews. I think that's fair. I think that's right. And I think that's what will happen. I don't think he's going to sign for 11.5. I don't think Toronto's going to give him that money right now. If they did, it obviously would have been done already. I think that'll be the sweet spot for both parties involved. I think that's what will get done. And while I do think this thing will happen, if he is in a different sweater by the time of next year, I won't exactly be surprised. But of course, with this video, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So, let me know, what do you think about this Mitch Marner negotiations? What do you think about the potential contract? If he does get signed, what do you think he will get signed at? $10, $11 million? And do you see Mitch Marner actually getting traded? But, if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my video on Genny Malkin and then possibly getting traded from the Pittsburgh Penguins. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on Mitch Marner and if he'll possibly get traded from the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'll see you guys next video or stream. Goodbye.